Hi, my name is John Mountner, and I've been a founder and CEO of 5 successful multi-million-dollar companies. In fact, my very first business venture became one of the 500 fastest growing companies in the United States. I'm a leader in the field of small business growth and profitability. I founded COSI, which is the Cycle of Success Institute. It's a very unique educational program. It's really a school that teaches business owners how to become extraordinary and become best in their fields. So with our new partnership with Suncast TV, we're launching the COSI Online Institute. It's an interactive program that a business can access and learn tools that will be essential in their success for their business. So we understand that minority-owned business success in this country is key to our economic recovery and growth. So together we're going to empower businesses to create new jobs, build businesses that are successful so they can improve their local economies and even expand nationally or internationally. So we look for information about this program coming up on our Facebook page called Cycle of Success. It'll be coming out early next month, so hopefully you'll take advantage of it. Thanks.
Decision making in China is from top to down. Chinese may not want to challenge the decisions made by people above them. So if I've heard business people tell me that after a program or project didn't come through as well as they thought, and then the staff said, "Oh, I originally thought this wouldn't work," and then you're like, "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" But but the staff at the time just did not feel that he should be challenging the power of the boss. Short-term versus long-term orientation. Again, Chinese like to take a more historical perspective of things, and they like to take a long-term orientation of things. Modesty and humility. The Chinese like to be modest in what they do and what they say. There is a generation difference. The newer generation, there is a generation called post-80s, even post-90s that are in the workforce now. These people are more, the newer generation are more individualistic, and they're more open to express themselves. They're not as modest as they were. The tradition required them to be. But mostly right now you're working with the people in China who are in the age group who are still consider modesty as a big value, major value. The Chinese idiom, the hunter will shoot the bird that stands out of the flock. The wise man is slow in words and quick in action, like Confucius. So if somebody talks a lot and boasts about himself a lot, and the Chinese tend not to trust that person because they think you have too much air and there might not be any truth in it. So that's very very different from the American understanding of doing business. You have to chew your own horn, and that's the expression. Where in China the teaching is be modest. Don't make yourself a target of other people, and also if you talk too much, and then it means you don't have truth in what you're saying. Potential misunderstanding by Americans: Chinese don't have confidence. Nonverbal communication, personal space is very limited. Restricted public demonstration of affection to opposite sex. This is still true to people older than 30 or 35, but not as not as true into the younger generation now. There is a generation difference regarding male-female relationships. Touch among members of the same gender is more acceptable in China than in America. So don't be paranoid or see two men hand in hand walking on the street. It might not be what you're thinking. The tradition is really more restrictive to showing passion toward opposite sex than toward the same gender. Smile doesn't always mean happiness. Sometimes you see people smile when you talk to them. That might be embarrassment smile rather than real smile. American behaviors that might be uncomfortable to Chinese: eye contact. Americans like to do direct eye contact, where the Chinese, particularly Japanese, tend to avoid direct eye contact, and they think that is very offensive. backslapping, mock punch. These Americans like to do that, and it's okay. But many times Chinese, like this next one, sarcastic comments. Chinese don't know how to react to that, and it's very difficult. They will be put in an embarrassing position. Casual behaviors: feet on the table, hand over things in one hand to high-rank Chinese. You hand your business card in two hands. Receive them in two hands. Leaving the room during meetings. So I'm okay seeing you leave the room, right? But if you if you are, I was a college professor for 2 years, many years ago, and so it's okay. But to Chinese sometimes that's that they feel differently. Eating during meeting, not showing guests way out. So that's also something. Walking too fast. Americans have long legs, and Chinese probably don't. I'm tall, but be considerate to Chinese. Women in China, and people in color. I'll talk about together. Is your social status is determined by your the way the Chinese regard you is by your social status. So if you are an American business person, if you are a boss, so they regard you as your position, not by your gender or by your color. There are times I've heard that people in color encountered behaviors that are different. They were treated differently from the other people. That is partially because of the less of exposure to the people in color, where the only exposure they had was probably from media, from movies, which we all know that most of the cases are not true. Many times are not depicts that group of people in a true manner, true fashion. And but in China, in general, you are treated as a person according to your social status.
My name is Alan Gray, and I work with Navistar Corporation. I am responsible for supplier diversity, worldwide indirect spend, and indirect services, purchasing systems, and when things have to be expedited around the world, that group also reports to me in that role. So I wear a variety of different hats and do a variety of different things. One of the interesting things that a few years ago that I had the responsibility for, though, was to set up the global program for the engine division for the Navistar. So my background is really in operations. I came up to corporate about 7 years ago to set up both a global and diversity opportunity for our corporation. If you don't know Navistar, we are about a $15 billion company. We, at one point in time, the name of the company was International Harvester. At one point in time, International Harvester was the second largest corporation in the world. It mainly focused on agricultural equipment, and then got into trucking and then military. We were the producer of the first SUV in North American history. We produced the first RV in North American history. Navistar today is one of those organizations. We're the third largest truck and engine corporation. We do have a joint venture in India. It should be announced very shortly, a new joint venture in China. We are in our Caterpillar agreement. We'll be going to China, India, Russia, Turkey, South Africa, and Brazil. We are the largest diesel engine manufacturer in South America. Our perspective is, as a North American focus has been, there are significant advantages if we can utilize diverse suppliers to develop relationships with global companies and provide a full range of services. We always look at total cost of ownership, not piece price. So when I'm thinking about product that I want, I look at total value. It is not just the price of the product. I can find the cheapest price, which is not necessarily the best value. I'm looking for the best service and support for that product when I need it. And George and I've had this conversation. If I'm producing in product in southwest part of the United States and my product comes from China, I want my supplier, I want to be able to talk to my supplier during my business hours in that part of the country. Very significant, very important for me. When I talk about the capability of the product and service, I'm looking for suppliers and a relationship that says not only are they going to respond to my quality issues, my engineering changes, intellectual property, those kinds of things. I'm looking for someone who can do it when I need it done on my terms. I had a supplier who's doing some similar things for us, again, another African American, who went off and did a joint venture with a variety of India and Chinese companies. And today they provide us product from both of those perspectives. Today in the United States, they have total supply chain responsibility. I pay them a price. They make sure the part shows up on my dock the way I want it, in the sequence in which I want to have it, and that provides value to me. Right? Now, some of these suppliers have gone off and created what we call rates that support. It's a global rate, so it's not. If I were in China or India, it may not be the lowest rate, but in the United States, it may be a lower rate. But I can buy the product either in the U.S. or in China, India, for any one of my manufacturing facilities for the same price based on that scale, and have a fair and global price. The reason Navistar went global was because of competition. My competitors had already moved in that direction. They were having some price advantages that we were not getting the benefit of, and it was a must for us to compete in those arenas to go do that. Now as we become a more global supplier, we will have more people on the floor. But traditionally, corporations were saying, I want to get the product, I don't want to invest the time and energy and resources in that country to make sure that we have clear communication, things like that. I just wanted to buy the product. Well, a lot of North American companies got into trouble with quality, plant shutdowns and things like that because there wasn't a clear understanding. Right? The other thing I think is real important is what are the advantages? What advantages, at least from Navistar's perspective, have we seen? When we've gone global, we found that the only place we get cost advantage has really been in labor, significant advantage in labor. Of course, by going this distance, I've added cost to my logistics. We've seen some significant advantages in engineering costs, the cost of engineering, the cost of tooling has been some significant advantages that we've seen. And so, to compete with our competitors, and I won't talk about my competitors as well, but you can look at who they are. We had to go in and do some things quite differently. Now that we are moving out of a North American and South American perspective, we are going to move to a different model. That model will be having people in country, in all the countries that I mentioned, who will be a part of Navistar's purchasing arena and who have the responsibility for those components, that part of the world, no matter where they go. For instance, I may have a supplier who's in China who is supplying me, let's say, brackets. It doesn't matter. That's the best place for me to buy brackets in that part of the world, cost competitiveness and scale. They will be responsible for buying those brackets for me, whether they end up in China or Brazil, U.S., South America, it doesn't matter. The structure will be set up. Here's the best place to buy those kinds of components. Here's the best opportunity we have to get that scale and how we do that. You may have noticed recently that Navistar has also acquired Monaco. I think President Obama was at one of our facilities last week to talk about Monaco and the RV market. There are some opportunities in the future for growth in that market as well. But we found the biggest market for us today is in India and China. As the infrastructure and the highway systems change, our product, which is really built for North American highway system, will have a significant opportunity for growth. When we talk about the Caterpillar relationship, Caterpillars always use someone else to buy their large, heavy moving vehicles from. Well, in this relationship, we will have the responsibility for producing those. They have the largest distribution network in the world for our kinds of components. The relationship is, I want to get advantage of their distribution network. I can distribute my components, my services, my product through them. They will have a product produced by us, branded Caterpillar, that they can sell and service in their own manufacturing facilities worldwide. So it's a good situation. But what I bring with me is an opportunity to maybe do some business with Caterpillar in this joint venture. An opportunity to do some business with one of my tier ones I have here tomorrow. We've just done a major joint venture with a major tier one for a long-term agreement. I have them very aggressively and actively working on the diversity program. They will be with me tomorrow morning to talk about how we can get more diverse suppliers in their network as they move, as I am, to produce more product and get more product out of China, India, and other low-cost countries. So those opportunities are good. So the Navistar's perspective is, I think there's a great opportunity for very capable, diverse suppliers to meet and work with very capable, low-cost country suppliers. This particular comes to China in particular. The Chinese suppliers need a way into the North American market. The diverse supplier needs the capability, the scale, the capacity to put in place to support a global market. And it seemed like a natural fit for us to be able to blend those things and do more work together and make that happen.
How many people are doing business in China now? Just anybody? Yeah, see, there's some people.
Yeah.
Are you learning anything? How many of you are getting more excited about doing business in China? It's pretty good, huh? Very good. I went at the end of March, and I'm due back. I have my plans to go September 1st through September 14th to actually work on some projects in China. So I'm a quick success story. I did not have those slides that George did, so the preparation, orientation, and implementation were kind of loosely presented to me. I am a person of, I prepare as much as possible, so I read everything that George sent me. I read every documentation that there was from the website, and so let me just give you a quick overview. I own a company called CSMI. It's an engineering company that works primarily in the food and beverage industry and pharmaceutical industry. We improve production and packaging lines on the manufacturing floor. Got a lot of multinational Fortune 500 corporations that are my clients. And I read every one of their annual reports every year. And I am a for-profit corporation. Therefore, when you read the annual reports, you see where the capital is being allocated. From a global perspective, everything was going to China. And so I said, I got this crazy idea, maybe it's time to go to China. And so I had it in the back of my mind, and I was meeting with Eric about some work nationally here. And then my friend George walked by, who I never met before, and I was introduced to him, and he said, well, I help companies go over to Asia. And I said, well, guess now I gotta pay attention to it. So I met with George, and I will tell you that, number one, that's what you need to do. I did not know there's this whole world here in Chicago that could get you prepared to go to China, and very sophisticated doing it. So what we did was, every service that was there, we utilized. We went through the Gold Key services and set up meetings, and that we used the Shanghai service for that. The state of Illinois, we used it in Hong Kong and Guangzhou. My Uncle Norman. And then the Hong Kong Trade Development Council we used as well. And we had some meetings in Hong Kong. Very busy, very educational. And what I had done was I had become very, very prepared prior to meeting the client. And I'm going to step back a little bit because I have a good client list that is global. And I have the luxury of getting the support because I've provided good engineering services for the past 26 years to take that and have people in the US support me over in China. My last 2 days of the trip was to meet with my clients over in Shanghai. After all the meetings, and I met with other engineering firms, consultants, manufacturers, and then different software owners and whatnot. I got a better picture of what was going on. I sat in front of the client in Shanghai, and I had picked out and identified a couple of partners that I thought I would want to work with, and I presented that to him. And he said, I was going to recommend that you actually work with these companies. So it kind of was a good fit, and it gave that confidence. But we did do a lot of homework, and we came prepared, and then we utilized that. So like I said, I am probably the testimonial of, in terms of, I did the preparation, then the orientation was my March trip, so I traveled over there, I met the potential partners. I was there yesterday. Was I an experienced networker or an inexperienced one? But got to meet different people, friends of friends. That's the whole thing. When I told people here that I was going to China, if they had gone there, they gave me advice. And if any of you have ever gotten married or had, having a baby, everyone has advice for you. So you kind of pick and choose what you want from that. Like he said, don't drink the water. You can drink the water. Go to the bathroom at the hotel, not when you're outside, those kind of things. And then I came back and re-examined the strategy and decided that that's something I wanted to do, and then presented that to the client of, these are the projects that I think I can help you out with, and that's what's going on for my September 1st through 14th trip. It's a wonderful forum here because this is providing a lot of opportunity, a lot of good information, and if you follow it through, then you like me. So, thanks.
This year's trip was actually not my first trip. Last year in 2008, I went with the mayor and several city officials from Gary, Indiana, on a diplomatic trip that kind of took the political aspect of it out of the way, because the governmental part of it is very important, very critical. We signed a sister city agreement with the city of Foxen, and it was a very enlightening experience from a political standpoint. I'd never been in a diplomatic motorcade before, so being able to go through rush hour traffic with police escort felt pretty good. We did 4 cities, starting in Shanghai, ending in Beijing. And it was interesting because this was a direct matchmaking program where our business profile was sent over in advance. So these companies were already briefed in terms of what our requirements were, what we were looking for. And one of the important things that I stressed inside of that was joint ventures. And you heard a lot of that this morning from other panelists who spoke that is a very lucrative opportunity in the joint venture arena, because there are a lot of Asian companies who are looking to come to the U.S. from a standpoint of being able to join forces with U.S. companies and navigate the landscape here in the U.S. One of the things that we're doing in Gary, Indiana, and I might as well do the commercial since I'm up here, we have international merchandise market we're initiating in downtown Gary, 159,000 square foot facility, and our intent is to provide a showroom facility for Asian companies that want to present their products here in the U.S. In addition to that, we're going to be doing logistics, manufacturing, light manufacturing, and sub-assembly. One of the things that I talked about at a forum in Beijing was the opportunity to bring jobs back here in the sub-assembly arena. By that I mean that the products are still manufactured there in China. However, they are shipped here to the U.S. unassembled, which allows us to assemble those products here, create low-tech jobs for individuals. That allows us to move into the warehousing, distribution, and logistics aspect of it, which are still the opportunities to be able to compete. So in other words, we may not be able to say made in the U.S., but we can say assembled in the U.S., we can say expected in the U.S., and it still gives us the opportunity to be competitive in a global marketplace. In terms of my experience, I can start with when the plane landed. Wow. It was kind of surreal from the like a movie, because given with the swine flu epidemic and what it was, when our plane landed, these guys with hazmat suits got on the plane with these things that looked like radar detectors, and they pointed this thing at your head. And George told me, I had it on videotape, I can't show it, but George told me that was a no-no. I could have actually got quarantined for videotaping activity, but it was really surreal. And there's a real concern, as it relates to that goes back to the same concern we had with SARS. So one of the things that we're doing now is, I don't know how many people are familiar with telepresence, but telepresence is the next generation of video conferencing. And one of the things we did with the matchmaking was we were actually able to go over and sit down with those companies, and we had translators to do the whole process. But George and I have been talking about now the opportunity to create the same matchmaking environment without physically having to spend 14 hours on a plane and 2 weeks of your time and find a translator and the whole process. Much easier to do a preliminary matchmaking scenario that would be in a video conference telepresence type presentation that would be much more economical. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more and see how we can get that actually created. But the interesting thing about our matchmaking sessions were, in each city, we were able to sit down with manufacturers that came, sat down with us, talked to us about their companies and their products and what they wanted to do. And we actually created 2 joint ventures, one of which will be here next month. And this individual actually has a mobile translating service that now allows you to get all your translating done through your cell phone and not actually have to have a physical translator. So we're looking at being able to revolutionize the whole translating aspect of it. We have another joint venture that we're doing with a company called iGo that has the world's smallest cell phone, looks like a little MP3 player. It's called an AND, world's smallest laptop. When I met the CEO of the company, he said to me, I'd like to be the next Apple. But overall, I can say that it was a phenomenal trip, and in terms of the opportunities there, the opportunities are unlimited, both inbound and outbound. And so I implore everybody to take that opportunity to explore what those opportunities are and how you can position yourself in that.
Hi, I'm Ed Lai from Suncast TV, Director of Sales and Marketing. Suncast is honored to be MBDA's media partner and also a MedWeek Award winner. We have won Media Company of the Year, both regionally and nationally. Suncast TV is also partnering with MBDA to develop the Minority Business Development Network, a globally accessible platform on demand available over the internet, which will feature news, programs of interest, and events by MBDA to provide your business with information and resources to grow it and make it highly profitable. It will also contain a number of messages by David Hinson, Executive Director of MBDA National. MBDA and Suncast TV look forward to partnering with you to develop your business. Please give us a call to see how you can feature your business to MBDA and nationally to the many businesses it serves. Thank you.